So we toss around sometimes looking for something to watch, probably like a lot of you guys. And so a couple weeks ago, we were looking for something. I clicked on Netflix on my list and put on a show that I thought looked interesting. After a couple episodes, I realized it was based on a book. It looked like a good book, so I ordered it on Amazon. It came early the next day, and then I blazed through that book. I thought, man, this would be something that you would really enjoy in your wheelhouse. And so I asked you to go ahead, if you wanted to read it, and then do this review with me.
Yes, and I agreed. I thought it would be great. I don't always like to do a review on books that I'm not comfortable reading or that I don't read very often. Anyway, so I read the book and then we watched the Netflix series, and now is our time to do our review on Fool Me Once by Harlan Coben. And we will discuss the book we will discuss the show some and the book more in detail. This will be a no spoiler review. I told Mike that with it being a murder mystery, psychological thriller, we could not give the whole plot of the book.
I agree. I actually said last year during my reviews that I don't believe in not spoiling books for the most part. I did a ton of reviews last year, and I spoiled almost every one of those books, but they're different. This is that style of book. I think it really is just, you got to just read it without
enjoy
knowing
it.
Yeah, I agree.
Harlan Coben is an American mystery thriller author who was born in 1962. 12 of his novels have been adapted to shows on Netflix and other streaming services. I have also read Tell No One and watched 2 other of the series on Netflix.
I haven't read any of his other books or seen any other series, so. Okay. Well, Fool Me Once was originally published in 2016. Our copy has 437 fast-reading pages. Yeah. And obviously, this is the Netflix cover. Yeah. And I typically hate covers from shows, like, thank you, Wheel of Time. I always prefer to have the original covers, but it is what it is. I listened to a portion of this on Audible where it's read by January Lavoie for 10 hours and 5 minutes. How about you?
I actually ended up listening to the whole thing on Audible. He got the book and was reading it, and I knew that he reads faster than I do. So I started on Audible. I had a headache that day, so it worked well. And then I just finished reading it, or listening to it that day.
I think she did a great job.
Oh yeah, it was entertaining, it was well done, easy to follow.
Yeah, I think it's funny now, I had a trifecta on this book. I listened to it, I read it, and I watched the show.
Oh, that's true.
So all 3.
Yep, you did.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a murder mystery, psychological thriller, suspense.
It's all of those things.
It is.
It was crazy.
Absolutely.
On to the plot. Real briefly here, and spoiler-free, like I said.
Yes.
Okay, Maya, she was a disgraced special ops helicopter pilot, and she recently lost both her sister, Claire, and her husband, Joe, to violent deaths. The novel starts at Joe's funeral 3 days after his murder, and both Claire and Joe's murders remain unsolved. So Maya's friend, she gives her a nanny cam right after the funeral, and a couple weeks later, Maya sees on the nanny cam her husband Joe playing with their 2-year-old daughter Lily. And this is really where the action begins, with Maya desperately seeking answers. She's having flashbacks and nightmares of that botched operation, a rescue operation, where she ended up killing innocent civilians. And the full details of what occurred during that, they're not known. And it's these secrets that haunt Maya. So after she sees the video of Joe, she confronts the nanny, who pepper sprays her in the face and steals the SD card that has the video of Joe. So the rest of the book is her unraveling the mystery layer by layer through her family and their Burkett clan. And I think that's all we're going to talk about the plot.
Yep.
I think that's
good.
That's enough.
A good build-up.
That's enough. Let's just talk about our thoughts now about the book, and then drink some whiskey.
All right, sounds good.
It is whiskey and Widowmaker.
It is. Okay, real quick before we get to our thoughts, let's talk about the similarities and differences between the book and the Netflix show.
Okay.
So the similarities, they really did a good job at sticking to the plot in the show and versus with the book.
I agree.
So it was like there were some verbatim comments. Like in the show,
some of the dialogue,
the dialogue was spot on.
Yes.
And so they did a good job. I was impressed.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Any other similarities? I don't know.
No, I mean the characters, there weren't any. I don't think there were any characters that weren't in both, but there were some, and I guess you'll go on with some of the differences there. But I feel like all of the characters that were in the book were also in the show, and vice versa.
I agree. Actually, there were at least one. We'll talk about here.
Okay.
So a couple of the differences between the novel and the show. First of all, and the most obvious, it was in the book. It's set in New York, and in the show, it's set in England. Okay. In the book, Detective Kearse.
Yes.
He's just like in and out. He's a bit player, if you will. He's kind of guiding some of the action. But in the show, we have whole episodes,
whole
like almost
story.
A whole side story. We get to meet his fiancée, and then there's the other character, the other officer, who I don't think he's in. He's not in the book at all.
Oh yeah, he's not in the book. His partner.
His partner.
Because he didn't have a partner in the book.
So that was a whole side story that was different. What did you think about that?
I liked the story that they gave him in the show. I mean, I like to take the detective, because he was a detective. He's an important part of the show. I mean, even in the book too, because I mean, he's in all of their lives. He's trying to unravel both of these murders.
Yeah, both Maya and him were trying. He's thinking at least part of the time that Maya did it.
Right.
And then she's trying to unravel from her end and he from his end. I think perhaps it was too much in the show.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it fleshed out the character a little bit, but honestly, I didn't really need it.
Okay. Well, I liked him. I thought he was. I thought it was a good side note, but.
And while I think she did a good job, I think his whole fiancé issue. That was all just too much for me. Okay, so I think in order to sow some extra layers of doubt in those who are watching the show, they had a couple of characters in the book who either are in the show who weren't in the book, or they were just not important in the book. Right. For example, in the book they mention Claire's love interest in Europe, Javier, and in the show he was actually a character in the show, and his son, who he didn't even know he had a son with Claire, and he becomes another suspect in the show. Right.
So definitely in the show there were more suspects than...
No, sorry, actually not his son, but Javier was a suspect for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Her ex-boyfriend from...
Yeah. And then their son, which Javier didn't even know, he was a part of the show as well, but he wasn't involved in like a suspicious way. And also we have another character who's the Alexa's soccer coach. So Alexa is Maya's niece, and so she plays soccer, and she had a soccer coach who in the book, he was just kind of a jerk, and so Maya pantsed him during the game.
Right.
And in the show, he had a son who was involved in, petty theft. Right. They were like stealing people's purses and stuff. And so he also became a suspect as he was out stealing purses with his friends on motorcycles the night of Joe's murder. And so he was also implicated at least part of the time. I think that was just to kind of have more characters that were suspects to keep the viewers guessing.
Yeah, more drama.
Yeah, I don't think I really needed it. I think overall they did a really nice job, like you said, of following along with the book. If you have seen The Hobbit or Wheel of Time, and these books that just don't even follow. They have to change so many little things. But I don't want to belabor the point on the show, but they did a nice job, I think, overall of following the book in the show, and that's really our take from that.
Yep.
Okay, now on to our thoughts.
Yes.
Okay, so overall, what did you think about the book?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's my type of book. It's
your cup of tea?
It's my cup of tea, yes. And I enjoy these books because they're fun. They're usually fun. I mean, it's murder mystery, so I guess it's not really fun, kind of dark. But this one was easy to read. He did a good job at keeping us guessing. Like, because I read these types of books all the time, there are times that I can guess the plot or the whodunit.
So did you guess who done it?
I didn't. Like, it took me all the way to the end. Like, like, as it was unraveling, and, like, the first unravel, I was like, what? And, I mean, yes.
So I don't read a lot of books like this. And because of the Whiskey Channel now and literature, I've been reading a lot of classic books. And just haven't read really any murder mysteries, per se, except maybe because of Dostoevsky and stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't read a lot of this. This is like a Patterson, maybe? Is like James Patterson?
Yeah.
So I have read books that are like this, but it's been a while.
Right.
And like you, I really enjoyed it. I'm currently reading 2 other books. I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo and Battle Royale, which are both pretty heavy books. And for me, I just set those aside when this book came, and it was like a breath of fresh air, just blasting through this book. I mean, I think from the time it arrived at our doorstep, I think in 20 hours I was done with it.
Oh yeah, you were.
And just read it through real quick and enjoyed it. It was a really nice pace, and it kind of just reset my palate, if you will. I go back to Count of Monte Cristo, and it's nice and kind of fresh with me.
Right.
But I don't read a lot of like this, and it was great. And like you, I was guessing. Like I mean, sometimes in the same chapter, I would be like, "Oh, it's his mother-in-law," or sorry, it's her mother-in-law.
Right.
Or wait, is Andrew, who is Joe's younger brother,
right?
And he died when they were in high school. So I was like, "Oh man, is Andrew still alive?" And Andrew did it. Or is Joe still alive and he did it? Or or did the mom, did she do it? Or did their other brother Neil? Or the other sister, is she just playing like she's an idiot? And she did it. I'm like...
Yeah, Mike was out going somewhere, so he was listening to it on Audible in his car, and he texted me while he was out.
Not driving?
No, after he arrived, of course. And was like, it's the third brother. And I thought he sent me a text that was from somebody else. I was totally confused.
For someone else, yeah.
And anyway... Yeah. So
it really kept me guessing.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is a book that I read, like say Lolita, I read last year. It was kind of not really a whodunit, but there was a bit of a whodunit in there. And when they revealed whodunit, I was like, who is this guy? And I had to go back and read an earlier chapter just to find his name to see who he was. And I'd just forgotten about him for the entire novel. And so I really hate that when it could be a whodunit or something, and then the last chapter it wasn't one of the characters in the whole book. And I think he did a great job, of keeping me on the edge of my seat. Like, not only who done it, but was it actually done?
Right.
Like, is Joe dead?
Right.
Is Joe alive? Did Joe kill someone? Is Andrew dead?
Is this just all in her head?
Is it all in her head? Now, the only thing that kept me going back to it is not just in her head, is because Isabella, the nanny, pepper sprayed her face and took the SD card.
That's true.
So that just kind of, it gave me hope that it wasn't Maya. But yeah, because she was kind of unraveling herself in her mind because of what she had done, killing those people, and with the other part of that, why, how it was done, or the other portion of that you learn later in the book.
Right.
I'm thinking, okay, maybe is she just falling apart? Mm-hmm. So, but that SD card theft kind of kept me grounded that it's not her.
That it actually happened.
Yeah. All right. So I do actually have another question for you.
Okay.
So we've read the book and you watched the show.
Correct.
So we started the show, watched 2 episodes, then we read the book, then we came back to the show. So for those who maybe have seen the show and want to read the book, is it worth their time now, as they know how it ends?
I would say so. I mean, especially...
It's a generous pour.
Especially if you like to read. I think you would enjoy reading it. You're going to pick out things that are different. Yeah. And I mean, like myself, sometimes I forget. If you're looking for something to read, and it's an easy read, pick it up and read it.
I think it's a great read. I think it'd be perfect if you're flying somewhere on vacation, or if you're going on a cruise with your in-laws, you don't want to hang out with them. This would be a great book to take, and you can just sit back and
enjoy it.
And just enjoy it. So, okay, so what about the opposite? If you read the book, did you think you enjoyed the show less having read the book?
No. I enjoyed the show because it did have those different bits and pieces in it. It was kind of fun to see what...
And maybe that's part of why they did it, too.
I think so. because they kept to the main story. Like, it is the same story, but just those added drama, you know, the enhanced characters. I think it was fun.
Maybe that's a reason. I didn't really care for most of that, but maybe that's why, for those who have read it, still worth your time.
Something different.
And just going back to spoiling the plot, one of the reasons I didn't mind spoiling books and stuff like that is because I think about Titanic. One of the most viewed movies of all time, right?
Right.
And everyone, except your sister, everyone who saw this show, the movie Titanic, they know that the boat sank before they went and saw it.
Right.
They know how it ends, and they still went and saw the movie. And so that's why I don't really mind spoiling it. But I'm not going to spoil this one for you.
Oh, no.
So.
No. I wouldn't have let him.
Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to see more of my content. I do both whiskey and book reviews. I'd like to thank Mrs. Captain Lara for joining me on this review.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. She's done a couple whiskey reviews with me and a couple book reviews as well.
Yep.
And I really thought this would be a great one to do with you. So thanks for sharing this time with me.
It's fun.
All right, guys. Again, thanks for watching. And you guys know what to do. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something great. Turn the pages and stay thirsty, my friends. Cheers.